Bloody wild weather. Every now and again it feels like the tent's going to take off. And there's not a lot of rain at this stage. The wind has been just horrendous. You've just got to ride it out. Not very pleasant, I must admit. I'll keep you updated. Shut your back. Bloody wild weather. Oh, there you go. There. Day one, I would have packed up my home, I think. And I'm shagged. Back on pack. Setting off, must be about day 5, losing count already. It's only 7:30, the earliest start I've had, trying to beat the wind, but no such luck. It was alright at 6:30, it's picked up now to northeasterly, which is sort of not what I wanted. It's going to be side on for the next 4 kilometres, oh, 8 after that, should be behind me. I'm going to have to tackle it. Pretty big expanse side on. We'll see how we go. I wonder if the zigzag. Hey, fog's just rolled in. Clear before. So I want to get to the damn wall 12 or 14 k's. I just feel like a bit of a milestone. Get off this dam. See how we go. Yesterday, I don't know what wind speed got up to, but last night it was horrendous. Moderated about 8:30. I was able to hop up and finish cooking my dinner and have a feed and regroup. I don't know, I was reflecting on it, as you do when you're in those situations. I reckon it was one of the most intimidating nights I've ever had in the bush, camping. I was on my own, there was no bug out opportunities. Really, if I lost my tent, I had my vortex on and I was rugged up. I would have just had to busy behind a log, which I'd sussed out. Just wrapped myself up in my sleeping bag, which is weatherproof for that reason. Just ride it out. It would have been unpleasant. It would have been shit and tax. What else do you do? Stay at home. Is that an option? I think last night it was. Now they've come out the other side of it. No, it wasn't an option. Look at this. Yeah, it was worth it. At about 750 metres long, the RiVER Highway Bridge is an imposing sight and signals the final run to the Hume Weir wall, a measly 3.5 kilometres. Finding no easy access points at the wall, I had to double back about 1.5 kilometres to the boat ramp, which proved to be a rather steep climb, given the dam was currently at about 50% capacity. As it turned out, the portage around the Weir wall was relatively straightforward. It was only about 3.5 kilometres of mostly downhill and on a pretty good road, albeit a bit windy and a steady flow of traffic. Re-entering the river below the dam wall marked a significant milestone. I felt, rightly or wrongly, that I was now in the Murray River proper. Well, here we are, below the Hume Weir. I paddled as close as I could to the other side of the weir. Now I've walked right as far upstream in the track, get as close to the weir as I can on this side, or close to the wall. There's the buoys, can't go any closer than that. So the little bit of gap in between I made up for by having to double back on the other side to the boat ramp. Now that's one story. There's another story. Could be that I stuffed up and ended up at the weir wall by accident and had to double back to the boat ramp. I'll let you decide which is the more fitting story. But here we go. Go. Here we come. There's the Hume Weir behind me, and I'm underneath it. It's a bit of a slog getting there, I don't know, a couple of K walk. Fortunately, most of it was downhill, which was a challenge because the old boat weighs 70 kilo, I think. Anyway, good to be back on the river. No idea where I'm heading. Albury's probably 20-25k. It's 1:30 now. Pushed for a couple of hours just upstream of Albury somewhere, try and find somewhere to camp in the scrub, and then that should put me in a good position to head off early in the morning, pull up in Albury, duck into town, which could be a bit of a slog, get a resupply, and then downwards and onwards. This is my first night below the Hume Weir. I think I'm probably about maybe 8k to Albury, which I've pulled up early today because I want to hit Albury early in the morning. I've got a resupply, so I'll have time to duck into town, resupply, and then hit the track again, get down the river afterwards. So Albury, here we come. But anyway, this is a cracker campsite on the bend here, and managed to clean myself up, clean my gear up, dry out a bit, and just a bit of river reserve, I think. So it'll be an early night tonight again, and then up early into town. made good pace along the river earlier. It's got a bit of flow on this section below the wall. It increased a little bit back there. There's a diversion channel or offshoot takes off and might join up again further down, but anyway, it seems funny, just after that the river picks up pace. I don't know, I was doing 12-13k an hour there for a while without putting me back into it, just cruising. It was enjoyable compared to what I had the last couple of days. Anyway, we'll make the most of this lovely spot and then move on. I'm getting pretty low on battery power and me recharging not up to scratch, so while I'm in Albury I'm going to try and do something about that, using more power than I can generate. You can tell by the light that it's pretty late in the day, 5:22. I set off this morning about 7:30 actually, and I had to stop in Yarrawonga. I'll get it right in a minute. I had to stop in Albury, getting ahead of myself there, to resupply, try and charge up a bit of camera batteries and phone and bits and pieces. It takes a long time. Anyway, I spent 3 hours in town. By the time I sort of could walk in and find what I needed, come around, get a feed, find somewhere to charge a bit of gear up. And as it turned out, I thought I was only about 9 kilometres upstream from town. As it was, I was 18 kilometres upstream. Probably need to go back to navigation school or map reading school. Yeah, it's nearly 5:30 and I've slammed out a lazy. I'll let you know because it's coming right up now. I hope to camp just around the corner here, which is why I pushed on. I think there's a half decent camp. If not, I'll find a half decent camp or make a half decent camp. It's quite a bank here. That's what I was picturing. There you go, 50.01 kilometres for the day. That was just through determination. There's a bit of sun. Final rays of light on the trees on the opposite bank there. That should be clearing up slightly. I was hoping that this would actually be a better access, because there was a cracker back there. Anyway, I reckon I'll find somewhere here. There's something just over in here. I can tell. How I get up there is another story. I'm fair shagged. It's late. It's starting to get cool. But I'm elated as well. Big day. So I'm back on the river. Day off yesterday. I call them rest days. You seem to run around like a blue-ass fly doing all your chores. Not sure how much rest you get. I guess you're just not going through the repetitive motion of paddling. So you're resting certain parts, but possibly not resting your mind. It's good to do a bit of walking into town a couple of times. Splurged and had a pub meal or two. Tasty too. So leaving Corowa, it's been a great little town actually. It was great to catch up with my mate Craig and then caught up with me big brother yesterday. It was good, and his crew, they're out doing their own little expedition for the weekend, and it looked like they were having a good time of it. It's great to catch up with him, and he gave me a bit of a hand refining my power charging system, which wasn't working. So time will tell whether that's any better. But what seems to be evident now is that with sort of hit the populated part of the river. There's houseboats, lots of little pontoons and ramps and weekenders on the banks, moorings. The plan is that, my calculations, I've got about 70 kilometres paddling to the Weir wall at Yarrawonga, Lake Mulwala I think it is, and between here and there I'm going to pull up, all goes to plan, at a private property down the river. My mate Craig, shout out to Craig, thank you mate, appreciate it. He set me up there, his family property. I think he was even generous enough to give up some time on his weekend to go and cut some firewood, so that'd be great. I actually haven't had a fire yet. A week on the track, it's something that actually pretty dear to me, having a nice campfire, and it was sort of an important part of this trip. It should be about 40 kilometres tonight's camp, so it can be a bit of a maze of water courses downstream. Navigation could evidently be challenging. Time will tell. And then that sets me up for a good kick-off point tomorrow to hit Lake Mulwala and traverse its length in a day without having to worry too much about trying to find somewhere to camp along the way. Just a slight mist on the river this morning. Beautiful actually, it's glassy. So we'll swing around and have a look for yourself. I'm about 60 kilometres upstream of Yarrawonga. What I've found is the river is bifurcating, and it's about, you get to each intersection, you think, oh well, which is the right way to go? Toss a coin. Obviously trying to use the navigator to work out the alternatives. When you see both options join up again, you just know which is which. Anyway, I've taken a punt and I think I'm on the right track. So I just saw one of the mileage markers back there, 2058. The consequence of breaking up into these channels, the river gets quite narrow and the snags on both sides or in the middle, they start sort of only leaving small passages between them to squeeze through. So it's always spat out the other end. Probably just not a high level of confidence of being on the right track. Worst, I'm going to have to turn around and go back. Yeah, speak too soon. Craig had told me to keep an eye out for the large old homestead perched on a small cliff on a prominent bend in the river. The campsite I was seeking was only 200 to 300 metres downstream and warmly welcomed. First fire I've had for the trip. I've been on the track for a week yesterday. Today's day 9 and this is the first fire I've had. Probably the only reason I'm having it is because a good friend Craig has availed the property down the river here, family property, allowed me to set up camp for the night, and to that end he actually supplied me a bit of firewood, so most appreciative of that. So I got here pretty early, actually about 2 o'clock, and it was tempting to go a little bit further, just to pre-position for tomorrow to get to the Yarrawonga wall. But even from here, going by my calculations, it's about 30k, and that's providing something drastic doesn't happen. That should be pretty good. I guess the only unpredictability there is that the wind could pick up as I go across the lake. Lake Mulwala. Could happen anyway, couldn't it? So I don't know. So if I get away early in the morning, it should put me in there. Normal conditions should put me in there about just after lunch, 1 2 o'clock. Going by the rate today, there's effectively no flow now. It's all paddling, and then there's a bit of a portage there to get around the wall, and then caravan park, I think, just on the other side of the wall. So I think that's the aim for tomorrow, is 30 k's portage around the wall, get myself and my boat, all my gear on the other side, ready to hit the free-flowing Murray River Tuesday morning. I just had a wonderful night on the Waldron property, about halfway between Korua and Yarrawonga, and it's the first fire I've had for the trip, so I thoroughly enjoyed that campfire, and it's great to catch up with Craig's dad. He came down for a visit this morning, had a chat. It's good meeting people. So I'm on the water before 8:30 this morning. Beautiful morning. Grass. It was interesting last night. It's the racket the koalas were making. Jeez, they were grunting and carrying on. Loud. Angry. So we'll wander down the river today. The river could get a bit chaotic in terms of the channels and the branches, and the exact route might not be all that obvious. Look, see how we go. possibly mean paddling further to be confident that I'm on a through trip and not a dead end. Navigating the shallow backwater from Bundalong, I was able to prolong my exposure to the upper reaches of Lake Mulwala. Although this was short-lived, following a couple of nervous moments after becoming perched on submerged logs. Now that I was rattled, I felt I had no option. I had to follow the main channel. So I'm going across Lake Mulwala, and apparently I'm probably halfway across. By all accounts, I should have another 5-6k. Oh no, yeah, 5 or 6k. Actually, probably very fortunate today that it's calm. There's barely a ripple. Here, like a mirror in places, because I reckon this could be a right shithole if you caught it on the wrong day. It's very intimidating. I suspect I'm paddling further than I need to, certainly not paddling in a straight line. I'm just following the channel with the marker boys. You know, it is tempting to straight line it, but the number of trees that are sticking out of the water an inch, 2 inches, 50 mil, you think, well, why isn't there just as many 50 mil under the water? I think there is. I did take a shortcut further back. It was horrendous. I actually got stranded on a couple of logs just in the middle of nowhere, belly up. I can go over, but you're a long way from anywhere. And you're perched up on a bloody log. So after that I was a bit intimidated by it all. And I snuck out into the main channel and I was stuck there, and the consequence is I'm zigzagging all over the shop. I think in the long run it'll be the best run, but I'm a bit puzzled by this place. I honestly don't understand what the attraction is for thousands of people. Something in it that I'm not seeing. Maybe it's just because I'm slogging it out and frustrated about zigzagging all over the place. But even from a water sports point of view, unless you're a fisho, maybe that's what the attraction is, fishing. Where you can just poke along gingerly through the snags quietly. From a recreation water sport point of view, over there now. Jesus, back across the other side of the lake. From a recreation point of view, I'm not sure what you'd see. just like that, Lake Mulwala was behind me. Now it was time to settle in, have some coffee and cake, have a bit of a breather, find the caravan park and start the next leg of my journey.